Greetings, dear Althea friends and family. It's Dr. J, and we are here again, live online. It's Sunday. You know what to do. So start getting yourselves centered and settled. We have announcements first, of course, but you can light your incense, smudge yourself, ring your bell, spray your water, whatever you do. To get settled, to get centered. This is our time to do it together, wherever we are, and whether we're watching it live or recorded. But I do want to say a special thank you to all of those that join us live, because there is a special energy when you are here as this unfolds. We can see each other, we can feel each other, we get the little emojis and Carrie's applause, and some of you send little hearts. That's your cue to start sending hearts and faces and animal emojis. So it's good. It's good to feel each other together and to know that we are contemplating the same things at the same time. Having said that, if you're watching this at a later date, welcome, and I hope you check out more of the video library from Althea, which is available on our Facebook page. Just go to the video section. All of our Sunday videos are recorded there, and then also on YouTube, which is actually where the total collection is, including things that were filmed on Zoom and not Facebook. So Althea TV on YouTube. We do have announcements today, although not too many. I am excited to remind you of some things that we have already talked about. Mariposa, first Wednesday is coming up this week. It's already February, tomorrow. Ay, caramba! So at 6:30 p.m., it's going to be a programming discussion about what's going on in 2021. I think it's going to be an important and fun time to connect and explore what Mariposa might be doing. I have already a little insider's peek because I've talked to Tim about some of the themes that you might be exploring, and I think it's going to be a great year for Mariposa. You can help make it so. Thursday, we have Community Connection still. Now, 11 o'clock is our traditional time, but considering so many of us are spending so much time at home, but may also be working from home, we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to connect with others and each other. And so 7 p.m., we also offer Community Connections. It's run by Joni Klieger, and it is fantastic. I think probably better than anything that I do. Yeah, I think so. And remember, you don't have to have gone to one of these before. It's okay if you're shy about speaking in public. You establish how you want to participate. You can talk, not talk, share a little. It's just about growing through connection and learning from each other and with each other. Saturday, coming up, the 6th, and then the 13th, and then later, 6th and 13th, 2 Saturdays. We have a Reiki attunement being offered by Elise Lasco, and it's by a Zoom, and people have really loved her work and classes, so check that out. It's all on the website. It's all in our newsletters. Friday of next week, okay? This is our final delay, our final start. February 12th, Spiritual Integration class. It's 6 weeks. And it's unlike any class that I've done before, because there's going to be a practice each week for the whole group to do every day of the week until we meet again. Now, you don't have to do it, but that's the idea. It's going to be a 6-week group. Participants are encouraged to do the week's practice every single day. It takes 30 minutes. It's not a long practice, but everyone's going to be asked to try a 30-minute practice, 6 different practices, and we're going to cover 6 different principles of spiritual integration. So it's going to be great. Again, everything is available on Althea's classes and events page. Look at that. Susan's already put up a link for Elise. You can also make donations on the Althea page, which I have to tell you makes all the difference in the world. And I should also say thank you, because of your viewing, because of your generosity, because of your giving in 2020. I don't know if you know this, but the hard facts are that when we finally crossed the finish line, in a year where we could not have classes, renters, and normal activities, it was such a strange and difficult year, and so many people doing what we are doing were shut down or couldn't make it. I am so proud to say that together, through our commitment to spirit and service and each other, we finished $704 in deficit. $704. That is, in fact, as far as I'm concerned, breaking even. There were years where Althea never made money, but our community turned things around in the last 7 years, and we have been strong, we have stayed strong, and we are positioned for incredible things in the year to come. So, if it's in your heart or your pocketbook, we'll take your donations at the beginning or the end of this gathering. Also, finally, please remember that at 11:30 we do a short gathering by Zoom. That means that I'll wrap up around 11:20, and then you'll have a chance to go to the restroom or grab some water, and then you can join us, and Susan will post the Zoom meeting ID. I'll do a quick recap of what the message was, and then if people want to share some questions or insights, it's just a short time to, feel a little bit more together after the service. So that is that. Are we good to go? I'm looking for a little audience participation here. All 51 of you start hitting some emojis. Let's see what the strangest emoji is that someone can put up that is at least still positive. We don't need that vomiting emoji or weird things like that, but there's all kinds of fun things. Show people that you're out there, that you're paying attention, that you're engaged. Send some interesting things. And now, after you do that, let's take a breath. Let's slow down and get centered. So with your eyes closed, I'm going to ask you to sit comfortably but alert. And then we're going to do a special breath today. And so in honor of the fullness of life, right? Our topic is everything and nothing. I'm going to invite you to breathe in 7 times. 7 times for the 7 directions, to the west, the north, the east, the south, the world below and above. And it's just like you're sipping the breath in. After that 7th breath, hold it. Notice where you're feeling tension, tightness. Breathe it out long and slowly. Again, we're going to continue with this. The 7-part breath, breathing in the north, the east, the south, the west, below, above, and the 7th direction, the eternal internal center. Breathing in 7 times till you're full, full, full. Hold it. And then release whatever no longer serves you. Breathe out till there is no breath left. So we go from everything to nothing. Really focus on the practice, keeping your eyes closed, sitting comfortably but alert. The 7 breaths in, the hold, the release, the deep, long, slow release. It's a short practice. Don't be distracted. Stay with it and feel the way your body brings you down slowly towards the center of your awareness. And then after maybe 1 or 2 more of those cycles, let it all go, the practice, the technique, and just be quiet. Be with the stillness and the silence. in this stillness, feel it, know it as the presence of Spirit that is within us and around us. Know this stillness and silence, this nothingness, as the very force that binds us and connects us. We who hear these words, who sit in this breath, in this meditation, we are one in this light, in this presence, in this emptiness. Just give yourself this moment to feel the absence of busyness, of doing, of trying, of being. Just witness the stillness, the silence, and the emptiness. And staying with your eyes closed, your heart open, your body softening, we share in this beautiful, simple reading by David Wright as he, with brevity and deceptive simplicity, peels away each layer of the existence we've created until all that remains is the stillness that is our essence. It is everything. It is nothing. And yes, it is enough. David Whyte's poem, Enough. These few words are enough. If not these words, this breath. If not this breath, this sitting here. This opening to life we have refused again and again. Until now. Until now. So, when you're ready, you can open your eyes and join me. It's a beautiful, beautiful passage. So I'd like to take another step and share a story. And do you know when this story takes place? Do you know where this story takes place? I know there's always a little delay with Facebook, but feel free, if you think you know when and where the story takes place, you can message me. Message me, let's see if you know. And yes, when we close, we'll close with a prayer at 11:20 and reading our statement of being for those of you that are wondering, what happened? What? Come on. When does it go? When does it happen? Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. So a long time ago, and far, far away, there was a woodcutter. Right? The legendary end of every story is the woodcutter who shows up and frees Hansel and Gretel, or frees Little Red Riding Hood, or finds Snow White's heart in a box under a tree, or whatever. I'm telling you, the woodcutter gets around. But this story begins with the woodcutter. The woodcutter lost his wife to illness sometime not long after she gave birth to their 2 daughters. The woodcutter, a hard-working, honest man, lived a bit of a distance from the nearest village in the forest, of course, in a beautiful log home, humble, and yet everything they needed. And he cared for his 2 little girls as best he could every day, and he taught them as well as he could every day. And because he lived with the painful sting of the loss of his dear wife, he reminded them to savor every day and the abundance that it offers. Seek the abundance of life, he would tell them. For my own journey tells me that whatever we harvest if we harvest it with love and respect, then that same gift will give itself again and again and again. And of course, he was thinking of the forest, and of course, the little girls each heard it in their own way. Until the time came where they left home and they went out into the world, and they went their separate ways. The first girl, Mary, we'll call her, the first girl heard his words and took them to heart. Abundance, abundance, abundance. I must embrace and enjoy all the world has to offer. And so she went direct to the marketplace, where she learned and studied and apprenticed and very quickly became a shrewd businesswoman, and soon became a successful businesswoman. And in time, she grew her own empire, buying and selling, importing and exporting all the extraordinary goods of her land. She was an incredible force to be reckoned with. Abundance was how she was known. But her sister, and we can call her Rachel, I thought I would pick biblical names for some reason, although I think they would have more exotic names in the true story, right? But Rachel thought of the word abundance differently. She remembered when they went to the village, as they walked through the markets, the monks, the nuns, the spiritual sages that seemed so peaceful, so content, no matter what they had, no matter what they wore, no matter what they were doing. And she thought that she would seek the heart of abundance in her own way. And so off she went to join a monastic community where she studied in spirit, took a vow of poverty, and served the poor every day of her life. Well, time passed, and each became quite immersed in their own worlds of abundance, one within and one without. And finally, word traveled across the country that the beloved old woodcutter was in his final dying days at home. Each of the daughters caught word, and each of the daughters, fearing that they would arrive too late, immediately dropped what they were doing and set off. The monk, the monastic daughter, she fled on foot with all that she had, her begging bowl, her walking stick, a blanket, and a book. And her sister fled immediately with a carriage and all she would need for a great adventure, and the carriage driver, and 2 guards, and horses. And each in their own way, from their own position in the world, made it there, remarkably, as the sun was setting on the same night. They went to the door, not knowing if their father was alone or being attended to. They knocked on the door, shocked to see each other, but speechless with emotion and eagerness to see this man who meant the world to them. But it was too late, for death opened the door. "Well, well, well," Death said. "What a surprise. I came to collect your father. He went so gracefully, so easily. What a fine man." The daughters were heartbroken, outraged. How could this be? They were too late. Could they have done something? Could they have stopped something? "How could you do this?" said the wealthy landowner and merchant. "How could you do this? You probably knew we were coming. You could probably feel us. How could you cheat us the chance to say goodbye to our father? Death, you are terrible. You truly are the worst spirit of all." And the other daughter, Rachel, in her simplicity, in her poverty, simply wept at the sadness of it all, the loss of her father, the sadness of the timing, and the brokenheartedness of her sister. Oh, said Death. Well, you think you're too late to do something. Well, you might not be too late at all. What do you mean? What do you mean, the daughters say. Well, I'm afraid your father's ship has sailed, but it seems it would be inappropriate for me to leave without the two of you. What? Said the girls. It's not our time. Oh, but clearly it is, said Death, for you have come to greet me. Might not have been in our plans, but I think we have a journey to take, unless you have something to offer, unless you have something of value that I might appreciate. Maybe we can negotiate. The daughters panicked. Who negotiates with Death? How could we change what has happened? And how could we save our own fates? Well, said Death, looking at the now dark sky, the sun now hidden for the day, I'll give you until sunrise, for I will be lingering with your father, spending some time, being sure that all the magic of the transition is looked after. But be back with your gifts before sunrise, or you will head to the same land as he. With that, the wealthy merchant daughter immediately stormed away back to the carriage. She conferred with her soldiers, with her carriage driver, and sure enough, off they went, racing as they never had before. The other daughter, heartbroken, but with a life of poverty and having so little to offer, nothing she could go get, she simply went inside and took a seat by the fire where she could gaze upon her father's still face and motionless body. And she prayed, she meditated, and she watched with Death as they took the time to feel the transition of the soul. Finally, twilight came. Rachel had possibly not slept a wink as she stayed in her sorrow, her mourning, and her prayers. The light began to come through the small cabin window, and that's when they heard the storming of hooves and the pounding on the door as Mary came bursting in. She had a sack, a purple velvet sack, and she said, I have your gift, Death. You will not take me. And she went forth and reached in and pulled out the biggest gem anyone had ever seen. Multifaceted, bigger than a melon. Red and deep purple at the core. It was the most precious thing she owned, the most precious thing she'd ever known, and she held it out to Death. Take this and spare my life. Death looked to Rachel and said, it's pretty good. What do you got? Rachel leaned down. She lifted her burlap sack. I have nothing really. I have my walking stick, my bowl, a blanket, and my book. You can have it all, even the clothes off my back. Oh, you think this is enough to spare your life, said Death. Oh no, she said. I would like you to spare the life of my sister. You can have everything. You can take me too. And with that, Death came before the two of them. and rested his hand lovingly on the shoulder of Mary, the wealthy merchant. And he said, well, clearly, you have been provided for in either scenario. Your selfishness appears to have won the day. And Mary was a bit panicked, not realizing what she had done to her sister, but feeling some relief. And with that, Death lifted his cloak and enfolded Mary, and she disappeared. Mary was gone. And he said to Rachel, thank you for keeping me company with the night. There are few who will abide with death to watch and wait and listen. There are few who will offer absolutely everything. And so I give you your life in return. And something special. From this day forth, whenever you pray with a dying person throughout the night from sundown to sunrise, I will grant them 1 extra year of life so that you will teach the world how precious each and every day is, that you will show the world that life and death are not about what we have, but how we live and what we do with what we have. Those who are willing to have nothing, to them I will give everything. And that is the end of the story. Now, I like that story. Now, the old days, there was always a lot of woodcutters and death. Death was a very popular figure in old, particularly Eastern European stories, although when you read folk tales from around the world, you'll find death everywhere. Death is a prominent character. And it's interesting because death really connects well to our theme of the day, which is to find the balance between everything and nothing. So many of us grow up in a culture, in communities, in families where abundance is understood as having and being more, doing more, getting everything, wanting everything, and feeling the entitlement to the best of everything. Now, in some extremes, this is kind of a materialistic promise, right? You can have the car and the house and the kids and the partner and a 401k and traveling when you retire. That all sounds fine. That's kind of an everything that some of us were given as the, let's say, American dream. But then there's other kinds of everything that we've also been taught, even in the spiritual world, that we don't need to want the conventional riches of life. Ah, yes, but riches can be ours, and we can have peace, and we can have prosperity, and we can have the home and the lifestyle and the health and all the things we want, if only we pray just so, if only we vision just so. And yet, it seems that wherever there is clinging to anything and everything, we end up in some way with nothing. Or at least less. Strangely, the more we strive for, the more we long for, and the more energy we put into that longing, the less we feel we have, the less we feel we are. And so there's two qualities that we're kind of talking about here in terms of everything, which is not only to ask ourselves, what do we want in life? But also, what are we willing to do to get it, to have it? And the paradox of life and spirit is that if we really want everything available to us, although perhaps not everything will literally be ours, but if we want the world to open to us, if we want people to open to us, if we want life to open to us, if we want the wisdom and love of everything, then we must first truly, deeply be content with nothing. Weird, right? Because in the clinging, in the attachment to everything, to love, to wisdom, to peace, to health, to anything, whether it is high value or shallow or materialistic or selfish, whatever is the longing, it is the clinging, the greed, the insatiability, the fear that chokes the life force from us. And so, in pursuit of fullness and richness and abundance, we must be willing to let go again and again and again, return to the energy of nothingness. Not just in what we have, but literally in who we are and how we understand ourselves. Now, last week, many of you attended our gathering where we interviewed Bill Plotkin, an incredible author and teacher, and maybe more significantly, a masterful guide of the experience of soul work and journey work in nature. But a big part of what Bill was teaching with us is that true human maturity, that true human awakening, that true human growth comes from the experience of dissolution. That's what he calls it in his work. I call it disintegration. And that means that before you're going to get anything, you've got to be willing to become nothing. Not just have nothing, but to literally wake each day or lay down each night and surrender. Surrender all you think you are. Surrender all you think you have to God, to spirit, to consciousness, to life itself, to remember each day that you are nothing more than an evolving awareness. Even the personality is just a vehicle for the soul. Even your preferences are just vehicles for your soul. The soul comes in with nothing of material substance and leaves only with lessons. The soul leaves only with lessons. And if you commit your life again and again to the deepest learning you're capable of, then the soul will move on in extreme and glorious abundance. And you, through that letting go, through that nothingness that you can experience through meditation, through attitude, through lifestyle, through contemplation, you can experience the absolute richness of every single day of your life. As in the story, if you consider that death is ever at your door, which, though disturbing, is true, none of us are promised a long life. None of us know when we will go, or how, or why. None of us know when our dearest friends and family will depart. And so, are we willing to give everything and have nothing in order to learn the way life would have it? It's remarkable, but whatever measure of attachment, clinging, holding, wanting, longing we have is the measure of energy we lose and thus the resilience to actually receive, to be open, to be aware, to be engaged, and ultimately joyful in whatever we have. The conscious contemplation of nothingness, our need for nothing, the reality that nothing we have, no images, no collections, no books or boxes or bags, none of it is really ours. Our partners, even our children, don't belong to us. And somehow, when we let it all go, everything, every day, wanting the world to be a certain way, wanting politics to be a certain way, wanting other people to be a certain way, wanting control over everything, when we finally realize that we have control over nothing, that we truly only have nothing, that at our core we really only are nothing, we begin the journey into the depths of mystery, into the ultimate truth of what we are. We are the most potent, pregnant, vital nothingness that we cannot know without the extremes of our release, disintegration, dissolution, dissolving. And so what does that mean in practical terms? And by the way, it didn't escape me that there was a brief moment where this sounded a bit like How the Grinch Stole Christmas. You remember that? They're celebrating without boxes or bangles or dingles or dangles. Remember that one? It's something like that. But what does this mean for us in everyday life? Well, it means that whatever gift we receive it with the knowledge that it will go. Not with the joy that we love to savor. This is mine now, my new favorite sweater, my new favorite blanket, my new favorite car, my new favorite friend, right? There's a kind of clinging that kicks in from the very beginning. Instead, we begin to hold things lightly. Everything that comes in, we confirm that we know it will go, and so we cherish it. We cherish it. That's what makes it more. We don't trust that, or we don't assume that anything will stay with us. So we release it as soon as we get it, and so we savor it. Whatever we have and consume, the food, the clothing, the friendship of our lives, we let it inspire gratitude. We let it inspire appreciation. It also means that we contemplate. Yes, in our meditations, we contemplate poverty, despair, loss of health, loss of love. Yes, we open our hearts to the darkness. We open our hearts to our fears. There is nothing that we hold back. And in that willingness to consider everything, to witness everything, to love everything to the point of being willing to be nothing, we find everything restored. And the final thing in practical terms that I encourage you to remember is that when you feel like things are falling apart, when you feel like things are being pulled away, when you feel like the world is not the way you want, that you are not the way you want, give thanks. For if this is the energy of disintegration, dissolution, dissolving, then be grateful. Look for the lessons and more. Give it up. Don't let it be pulled away from you. Give it up. open your heart, open your mind to who and what you would be without any of it. When we go to that depth of release, as we remember Rachel in the story, the woman who took the life of poverty, who had nothing to give, but gave it all and herself. She would have literally nothing, not even self. Then the greatest magic was given to her. Not only her life preserved, but the ability to preserve life. This is the paradox that we are all living in. That the more we cling to having, wanting, being, getting to the next place, the further it goes and the harder it is to feel it. And the more comfortable we are with having, doing, being nothing, the more we discover that there is a great nothingness from which all things flow. From that place we realize that nothing is the essence of life. No thing. In a existence in which everything is one thing, everything is God, in which only God is real, there are no two things. All diversity, all multiplicity is just a joyful expression of the nothing, the one thing, the thing beyond thing, the mystery. And so nothingness unites us with our source, and it unites us with the most spacious energy and perspective, so that everything can find its place in its own way. Our friends, our family, our kids, our neighbors, our country. We are a part of a living energy universe. We are an expression of a love and a wisdom that is and has been unfolding forever. And the more comfort we find in the dying of the self, the more we are willing to sit with death through the night and release ourselves into it, the more we find on the other side. The more we realize that we are always safe, always loved, always connected, and always evolving, learning, and growing in spirit. And so to close this message, I would like to affirm the nothing that is everything through our statement of being. And if you are new to Althea, you should know that we have been around for over 130 years, founded originally as the Divine Science community, the Divine Science movement, blossoming out of Pueblo, Colorado, and then moving to Denver, and the first Divine Science Church, which eventually became what we know of as Althea. And so we have faith in nothing but the one that is all. So if you like, you can read this with me, and you can also find it on our website and look it up if you'd like to know more about this beautiful affirmative prayer. God is all, both invisible and visible, one presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. We are individualized expressions of God and are ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. This is the oneness that is no thing. No thing. all one. So thank you for joining me today. We're going to wrap up in a couple of minutes here. I'm going to give you some reminders. But for those of you that would like to join us, 11:30, we'll be hopping into a Zoom call. And so anyone who just wants to hang out with others, Susan is putting up the Zoom link right there, as well as the meeting ID. And so don't forget this Wednesday, February 3rd, Mariposa, programming, visioning, and brainstorming at 6:30. Thursdays, 11 a.m. and 7 p.m., community connections as we explore the themes that matter most to us in a awakened life. Saturday, Reiki training with Elise Lasco via Zoom. Friday of the 12th, that's Friday the 12th, we have a very special 6-week program that I'm running that's going to include homework, optional, but homework every single day of the 6 weeks. Spiritual practices, 6 spiritual principles. It's going to be pretty cool. And of course, everything is listed on our events and classes page. We are so grateful that you were here today. It was great to see a big group. Next week, we have some special things that we are going to be talking about and announcing, and more stories and lessons and ways to connect. Lots of good stuff coming up at Althea. So join us again live. Share this with others. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your donations. The donations mean the world to our staff, to our community, to our beautiful building, to our renters, to everyone who Althea has been and is a home for. On that note, I'd like to end with a brief prayer, and then we'll say goodbye. So, with eyes closed, a hand on the heart and a hand on the belly, we pray, each in our own way, but together as one. Dear God, to the one that is all, our source, our substance, divine mystery, and sacred nothing from which we all emerge and return, we are in gratitude. Gratitude for this day. Gratitude for this life and this love. Gratitude for these lessons. We are grateful today for who we are and what we are, and the chance to learn and live and love again one more day. For all that we have loved and lost, we are grateful that we were blessed at all, that we have had what we've had, know who we've known. We are grateful for every fleeting, precious blessing and take none for granted. In this way, dear God, we savor life and spirit and soul. We open our hearts to everything by embracing nothing in ourselves, honoring and surrendering into that emptiness from which our hearts open, our minds open, and we discover the wholeness of life again. Dear God, may each one of us here be blessed, be helped, be healed, be whole, be protected, and may we share our gifts generously with the world, with our family that is creation. Love for the earth and all creatures, love for humanity and all people, love for all the forces of life. May we become awake to the flow that we are an expression of. May we know that deep within we are the precious, pure, magnificent, mysterious nothing that is eternal, that is abundant, that is wise, that is loving. And that is a truth that can be never taken from us. Amen. So thank you again. Have a beautiful day. Happy Sunday. See you soon.